Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, ADR, North Carolina, and also the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, which is going really strong, as well as this wonderful community. I've got so much to talk about tonight, but I'm so glad all of you are here. It has been a crazy week in Eastern North Carolina. We are having sustained winds of 40 miles an hour here. And I have never been in a place where they had sustained winds for 45 miles an hour for, this is the third day, and we're not supposed to get a break till Thursday. So it should be really interesting. It's like hearing a freight train go by your door every single day, and it's really amazing. But I really have so much to talk about. I have a list here. I made a list because when we are thinking about making a plan for our pets, I am living the reality of, ooh, what happens when you shift where you are? It is really amazing, and the things you might want to ask, and also who you should tell if your dogs are boarding. Maybe your appointed caregivers aren't the people who are going to be caring for your dogs if you go to a wedding like I'm going to be doing, or if you go to the National or whatever is happening. What are you supposed to look for? What should you look for? What would be best for you? There are a million answers, but tonight I'm going to explore a few of the things I have learned, because I have been spoiled for the past 25 years to always have someone come into my house, live in my house, and take care of my dogs when I wasn't there. That, of course, is not something I can do now. So it is something I am acutely aware of all of my MAAP community members having to deal with as well. I know, Sally, you have dealt with that over the past 9 months since I left town, trying to find someone to come in to take care of the girls. I mean, you have older girls. Dropping them off at a kennel, not necessarily going to help them or make them feel comfortable. Junie is a relatively young dog. Mariah is 2. So dropping them off at kennels, I mean, Mariah's never been to a kennel. Junie was a show dog. He was with a handler. So he has been in that kind of environment. So it may or may not affect him. He's a little bit of a mama's dog now, but these are things you really need to pay attention to. So I'm going to address them a little. I'm going to check in with everyone. I hope Marty is able to pipe in with all of her great information, because as a veterinarian, she'll hear some of the things that I talk to the boarding kennels about. One of them is at a vet's place. One of them is an independent pet spa. So it's really interesting. And then the second thing I'm going to talk about tonight is that I was just wonderfully able to speak to the Yankee Golden Retriever Club. And I'm hoping some of those members come here tonight or a night in the future. And it's interesting, there were 65 people on the call. It was a membership meeting. It had only been really pulled together in like 5 days because my colleague Mel Porter, who breeds and owns Golden Retrievers and is part of the board of directors of the Yankee Golden Retriever Club, said, you know, guys, we could do this as a public service program for our members. And she actually called me while I was in Kentucky. I was actually at dinner Wednesday night. I wasn't here with all of you. I was at dinner Wednesday night with all of the equine ladies. And if you follow me on Facebook, you will see it was a huge group that I was missing you for, and I apologize. But it was really nice to see my legal beagle, eagle, equestrian friends again. So it was really a wonderful 2 days in Keeneland. I'll tell you a little bit about that as well. However, you really need to make sure that you think about so many things when you're traveling, and also make sure that when you talk to breed clubs, that you help them make the decision to act. I find that when I talk to breed clubs, and I love them very much, but I sort of hit them with a fire hose, which all of you know, because I hit you every week with a fire hose. And so a lot of people get paralyzed and don't do anything. And it drives me nuts. And I will take your feedback and let me know what I can do differently so that people actually take next steps. I had one party call me and said, love to sit down and talk to you. I said, fine. The cost is this. And she said, well, is that for the Yankee Golden Retriever people? I said, yes, because I usually charge $100 more. So yeah, this is the Yankee Golden Retriever cost. And she's going to go with trying to find out through a trust and estate attorney how to do this. And it has been my experience that trust and estate attorneys will help you put the plans for your pet in your will. And what happens then, guys? If it's in your will, what do you have to make sure you do?
Die.
You have to die. You have to die. And I don't want anybody on this call to die. So you really need to talk to someone about making that plan and publishing that plan. It was funny today as I'm going through the myriad of boarding kennels here in Eastern North Carolina. The differences are immense. And knowing that I'm going to tell all of the caregivers that I have lined up here in North Carolina where the dogs will be is another piece that we have to do. So before I go off on the boarding and what to ask for and what to do, and actually to go by and look, especially at pickup time from daycare, that's an eye-opening experience, let me tell you, because every single dog walking out of the boarding kennel that's the pet spa and daycare was a doodle. There were 3 doodles to every dog that was something other than a doodle, whether it was a mixed breed dog or a purebred dog. So it was really interesting. So let me check in with Sally. I know that the girls have been a little up and down this week. How are they doing today in the heat? Not good.
No, it's not too hot. Poor Athena, no matter what food I get, it doesn't seem to work. And this one, unfortunately, is really not working. And it was a recommendation from the woman that owns her sister. And it might work for her sister, but it definitely doesn't work for her. So back to square one. So tonight was chicken broth, rice, and a little bit of white fish. And that was okay.
Yeah. She's a little bit of a persnickety kind of girl. We love her. She's a little Principation, a little bit, not much. And of course, Roxy, you could feed her rocks and she would eat it and that wouldn't be a problem.
It's true.
But please don't, because then you have to remove them. Marty would have to be, called or something, or a vet like Marty have to be called, take the rocks out, because I've already had a dog that ate rocks, but I digress. Susan, how is our girl, Maggie?
Oh, Maggie's had quite a week. She ate a whole chocolate bar, dark chocolate. Yeah, and I had to rush her to the ER,
She lived.
And then couple of days later, she got a hold of an empty container of shea butter. And, when I was taking out to the recycling bin and it fell out and it had a little bit left in it. And my gosh, you would think that, she would not let go of that. She bit my toe and she also bit Tom's foot. And I don't know what the attraction is with shea butter, but she loves it. And so she's had quite a week. She also got groomed.
Oh, well, that'll push her off the edge.
She got the Maggie cut. The groomer couldn't do the legs, but the rest of the body got groomed. So
it's a process. You're working on it, which is great. And I'm so glad that you are, because every day she's getting a little bit better. Stephanie, thanks for joining us. What we do first thing when we start up is introduce ourselves. So Sally Anderson Bruce has 2 Irish setters and she reported from Connecticut. Susan Capuano has a Catan. A Toulier de Catan, or a Catan de Toulier?
Catan de Toulier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it right half the time I get it right and half the time I get it wrong. So Stephanie, if you want to chime in and tell us who you are and what your babies are, we'd love to hear that. And then I'll go off on my little bit of a discussion tonight about how to make your MAAP plan and also evaluate boarding kennels. I'll give you a minute to unmute. There you go.
My name is Stephanie, and I have 2 cats that are American Shorthair. One is named Yoda, and then the other one is named Ella.
Wonderful. Yoda and Ella. I love that. You must be a Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because no, not Star Trek, Star Wars. Star Wars is Yoda. So yeah, my sons are big into that. I'm so glad you're here. Cats are my passion as well because my son has a cat. We talked back around Christmas time, was it, guys? I think so. When Drew was traveling with Jane and didn't listen to anything his mother said, because what does his mother know? However, traveling back to New York from North Carolina was much cleaner. And Jane was happier because grandma set her up to be okay in her travel kennel in the plane. There's just simple things you need to do. That's why God made chucks so that you could put about 7 of them in their travel carrier so that when they get upset or, nervous and have to go to the bathroom, it's a 1, 2, 3 easy cleanup. So he didn't do that on his trip down, which made for a lovely trip down. However, he did do that on his way up. So his cat, of course, didn't have any nerves or upsetment because she had spent a week with her grandmother. So she was very happy and went home happy, and so she didn't have an accident. But cats, when God forbid we have to go away, are a little bit easier to care for if you can find someone that'll come in and take care of them so you don't have to move them. But if you're traveling with them, there's certain things you should always make sure you do so that, God forbid, if something happens, they can't get out of their enclosed area, whatever it is, so that you're not chasing them down the airport or out of the car, God forbid. My son drove cross country, again, not listening to his mother at all, because really I don't know much. But he let Jane walk around the car the whole time. And I just prayed to the gods of cats that he got here safely, because cats are not necessarily easy to corral if you have them in the car. So always better to buy a nice big kennel or something to keep them safely in. God forbid there's an accident. And if you're going to have to board them, it's amazing the new cat boarding facilities that are up. So the ones I have checked out here in North Carolina look really, really nice. However, cats stress. And so things that might be okay for dogs might not be okay for cats. So Stephanie, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to do the quick overview of what we talk about here. We talk about making a plan for your pets. So you have 2 beautiful cats. Talking to people about who would be able to take your cats short-term or long-term is really key. Take care of them either in your house, take care of them in their house. It's always good to make sure there's a 3x5 card on your refrigerator. Because if, God forbid, something happens to you, you want to really, if you can, leave the cats in your apartment until that person you've appointed gets there to pick up your cat if they can. We talk about the nosy neighbor all the time because we want the neighbor to be able to tell animal care and control, if, God forbid, something happens, that they know who the person is who is going to take care of Stephanie's cats. And so just leave them there. And hopefully that nosy neighbor will be able to put fresh water out or fresh food out until the primary caregiver gets there. It always has to be on the refrigerator, inside the door, somewhere where no one has to do any brain calculations to find it. I find the easier you make it, the more likely your pets will be kept in the place you want them to be kept in. So that's part of making the plan. Then you have to describe your pets. So you have 2 beautiful cats. What are their idiosyncrasies? What do they like? What don't they like? Are they afraid of things? Or do they like one thing over another? Do they like people? Do they like dogs? Do they like, other things? Giving people, especially if something happens to you long-term, giving people all the information they need to know to continue your pet's life the way it should be is key. So always make sure you address the needs of your pet. So that's the M and the A of the MAAP, but there's another A, which means appoint caregivers. And you should always try to appoint 3. And only 1 can be a family member because, God forbid, something happens to you, they will want to be with you. So giving them the opportunity to know 2 other people will care for your cats while they're caring for you is a godsend. And all of the caregivers should know each other. I spoke last night to the Yankee Golden Retriever Club, And I kept stressing that all the caregivers need to know each other. And in the dog show world, there is the pecking order. And maybe people don't have a pecking order with pets, just the first person who can get there. But in, say, the dog show world, we'd really like Sally to take the dog. But if she's busy, Susan will take the dog. And then when Sally's free, Susan will give the dogs to Sally. So always putting that together. And then finally, if you make a plan, it is absolutely of no good to you unless you share it with the caregivers, of course, your family, of course, so they know what your plans are, and your veterinarian, because he needs to know who are the people who are going to bring the cats in to the vet to be checked out, as well as your attorney if you have made some sort of trust and estate document. We often put all of our care for our pets in our wills, which is great, except you have to die. And we don't want anybody here to die. We know that certain short-term things or possibly longer-term things happen. And that's why we make these plans so that the cats can stay with us, the dogs can stay with us, the horses can stay with us, the parrots who will outlive us 10 times can stay with us. We really want that to happen. So if you have any questions, Stephanie, tell me right now, or ask me right now, or ask me at the end. I'll ask again at the end before I go into what to look for in a boarding situation. So if you have any questions, just pipe up, anyone.
Okay, specifically right now, I have been looking into, like there was also another article that I saw that showcased vegan veterinarians, but this was in the United States. And speaking with some of the veterinarians that are local to me and asking them about maybe even being connected to those types of like agencies or organizations, maybe even similar to PETA, and like wanting to know and like have those options available, because it's becoming like even more popular.
Right. Being a vegan and being a veterinarian who's vegan. Absolutely. Well, you can go on the AVMA's website. I'm sure that if there is a listing, it will be there. That's the American Veterinary Medical Association. Also, the American Veterinary Medical Association has a holistic vet listings, and you can also look for holistic veterinarians, and that might be the best place for you to start, to find holistic veterinarians, and then find holistic veterinarians in your area. So in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, you'd probably find more than in North Dakota, South Dakota, or Minnesota. You might not find vegan veterinarians there. However, if you're in the Northeast, the AVMA is having its conference there, and you might be able to get on their website or stop by and see if they have visitors opportunities for you to go around and ask some of the vendors or ask some of the people who are there what would be the best way to find a vegan veterinarian. I'm sure they're out there, and I'm sure that if you Google AVMA and vegan veterinarian, you might be able to find one. Also, I'm sure there is a podcast, and I'll look for you, that is about vegans, and they likely would have interviewed a vegan veterinarian. So you would be able to get in touch with them and see where they all gather, so you can find one in your area. Does that help?
I think that will help a lot. Yeah, is that a common question to ask veterinarians these days?
I have not heard of many people asking for vegan veterinarians, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any vegan veterinarians. It is something that's becoming much more popular. So being able to find them would be something that would be great. We actually have a veterinarian on tonight. I know you must be on your phone if you're not. So Marty, let me know if there's any group that really gathers as vegan veterinarians.
I am not aware of any, and I have never been asked that question. So I don't really know, but remember, I live in Wisconsin, the heart of
Right.
beer.
So you're dairy.
Yeah, beer, cheese, guns. Yeah, it's just a different culture here. I think probably more urban veterinarians are going to be more likely to be in that role. The other place to look would be the HSVMA, the Humane Society Veterinary Medical Association. because that tends to have, or else the integrative veterinarians, those may be the ones that are a little bit more leaning toward that direction.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Because, I know that there's a whole group of holistic veterinarians, and they might also be, and I think it's the Holistic Veterinarian Association that you can look at, Stephanie. So that was really great. The Humane Society Veterinary Medical Association, which Marty suggested, and then the Integrative Veterinarian Society would be something to look into to see if you could find them. Anything else, Stephanie?
Oh, yes. Specifically as well in pertaining to veterinarians, the services that are broadening have now included a lot of the house calls, which seem to be, a lot more convenient. And that's also something that I am looking for specifically in a veterinarian, as well as like more grooming and spas that have been opening up specifically for cats, and wondering about those businesses being able to also transfer into a house call.
Well, that's a great segue into talking about how to pick your boarding facility and how to pick your veterinarian, because they can be mobile veterinarians. There's a huge increase in mobile veterinarians since COVID, and Marty actually has a mobile veterinary practice that's sort of your car, where it's a drive-through where you bring your animal in your car, the animal stays in your car, has its wellness checkup and gets its vaccinations, and then you drive out and the dog never has to, or cat never has to get out of the car. So that really is a wonderful possibility as well. I think, Marty, you're the only one who does that right now, but you're hoping to offer that, hopefully nationwide, but at least in certain areas.
Yeah. So it's a patented process right now, but we're the only one that's doing it, but it's great.
Yeah, and there are several groups that are doing mobile veterinarians. That's another thing that you could find out on AVMA's website, because they do keep track of mobile veterinarians and where they are. You could also look at Today's Vet, because there have been several articles about mobile veterinarians. As I said, post-COVID, a lot of people were calling the veterinarians to the house, and some veterinarians decided to do that instead of be in brick and mortar. That was starting before COVID, but now it's, I think, even grown bigger and bigger. So go ahead.
It's been really popular in places where companies like Google have a large presence, or Microsoft, some of those companies that have huge numbers of people that they work their fingers to the bone and never let them go anywhere. So they feed them, they do their dry cleaning, they have their barber shop, they bring their veterinarians in. Yeah, because that's all they do.
They bring their dogs to work, or
because they're never home, so they have to bring their dogs to work.
Right. They're never looking at that boarding question. So let me quickly cover the boarding question. So I have been looking for boarding my pets because I've been lucky never to have to board my pets. And so the two things that I've come up against, which has been really interesting, is one veterinarian boards clean as a whistle place, lovely kennels for the dogs to stay in. However, they leave at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night and don't come back until 7 in the morning. And my dogs will be desperate without last outs at 10 or 11. So I'm sitting there going, And the other piece is if they get upset or if they get worried, which most times my dogs don't get worried, but some animals do. And if they're deep chested, like my dogs, they could bloat. There wouldn't be anyone there to really see. You can go from one extreme to the next. So this vet's practice is lovely. The kennels are lovely. The run outside is lovely. It's well fenced. The gates are clipped, which, as Marty and I will tell you, making sure you clip your gates is key, because dogs know how to open gates. Now, both of these places are double fenced, so if they open the inner gate, they then have to get out the outer gate, but why risk it? So you want to look at how their gates are secured. You want to look at how the animals are kept. You want to do the nose test, sniff test, because sniffing is key. If the place doesn't smell clean, it probably isn't clean, and you should probably say thank you so much and move out. But leaving the dogs from 6 or 7 at night until 6 or 7 in the morning, for me, is something that's really weighing heavily on me. So I made a reservation, but I'm not sure I'm going there. The second place that I went here in North Carolina is called Beach Pet Spa, and it has grooming, it has doggy daycare, it takes cats and dogs, It's a lovely place, and the people there are lovely, and they took me on a tour. However, my thing is that you can't lock a dog in a room with no windows. They will lose their mind. I don't know if that's true of all dogs, but I know my Irish setters, if you lock them in a box with no windows, just no top, so they, there's light at the top, but there's no windows, they would lose their mind. Now, it's a beautiful place. Let me tell you, beautiful, clean, smells beautiful, beautiful runs, 3 or 4 grass runs, 3 or 4 stone runs, things my dogs are really used to and would find okay. And they have someone there from 6 at night until 7 in the morning. So there's somebody there watching the dogs. There can be cameras there too. And they have last outs between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. So I said, well, that's good. I'll ask for the latest last out so that everybody goes to the bathroom. However, it just made me a little nervous for the dogs to be in a contained, and I know why, because I've had many dogs in beautiful stainless steel kennels. And if they're across from each other, which they usually are, they're going to talk to each other, and some talk more than others, and some get agitated standing across from another dog. So this might be why they decided to build all of these beautiful cages with beautiful clean floors, just shut up. So they are shut in. And that was the only negative I found in that place. Everyone was lovely. However, my dogs in a box might not work. So the next place I'm looking for is a 3-hour drive away, because don't you want to drive 3 hours to drop your dog off for boarding? But it's run by someone who is in the dog show world and understands the need for some pet owners to have beautiful suites and independent suites, and some pet owners saying, a traditional kennel will be just fine with an outdoor. So we have that prospect, and there's someone there overnight. The 3-hour drive is not necessarily something we want to do, but you have to really, the reason I'm telling you all this, you really have to have your priorities. What's your priority? So for me, the dog's not being able to get out to go to the bathroom for last outs, a little bit of a priority for me. To me, putting them in a box with no windows so they don't know what's going on around them, that could really drive Junie into the next orbit. So, and I'm sure it would drive Mariah into the next orbit. And so they could get anxious and possibly bloat, which of course would be terrible for an Irish setter. So I'm now going up to Wake Forest, North Carolina, to a place called Cobble Hill Bed and Biscuit. How cute is that name? And they have 3 types of facilities. They have, the traditional kennel run that's got the open door on the front, side panels so you don't have fence fighting, and in an outdoor that they can go in and out all day long. And they have play dates, and they have all sorts of other things. They go out and play in the grass and things. They have the suite with the sliding glass door that they can go out to their lanai all day long. And they have their own TV, and they have closed circuit TV, so you can watch your dog all day long. And then they have executive suites, which I didn't even check what they look like, because my poor dogs have always only necessarily been in traditional kennels. So I just looked at the 1-up kennel, and I sat there and I said, somebody on 24 hours, they can see what's going on so they won't get frightened or fractious. And the fact that they're 3 hours away is a little bit of a detriment. However, I'm certain that I will be able to deal with that, because I'll know they'll be safe. So when you're looking for a boarding kennel, you have to visit, and you have to visit at different times of the day. You want to not necessarily be there at drop-off, possibly pickup. I was there at pickup. So you see how everybody is matriculating. You want to take a walk with your dog. So your dog will then know, or your cat, Stephanie, if you can. Cats are harder to do this with, so that they know that they're there with you, so that if you ever leave them there, they know that you've been there with them. Not that I think that's 100% necessary, but it makes me feel better. So if it makes you feel better, do it with your dog. And then find what the need to have, gotta have, and unnecessary to have. So I need to have my dogs be able to see and be able to have last outs. The gotta have is last out and be able to see. The nice to have but unnecessary is spa-like conditions with televisions and everything else. Although I think I might really go for the TV, because I'm getting older and losing my mind and being crazier. I would love for all of you to chime in about what you look for in a boarding kennel. Sally, I know you don't board, you have everybody in, but I know that you had been looking at some kennels.
Yeah, actually, I stopped in to on a Sunday before they were open to pick up my dog, and it was disgusting. I was too early. They weren't. They hadn't cleaned up yet, and there was the person in the kennel and the boyfriend smoking cigarettes, and I was like, "That's it. I'm never coming here again ever," because I just stopped in unexpectedly and opened the door and walked in, and oh, who are you? So
Yeah.
I think, visit the kennel, like you say, different times, and ask your friends.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, the one thing beside all the rest is they have to secure their gates. They really do, because the dogs might be able to open them. I have very smart dogs who have been able to open almost any gate I had, so I always clip them. And really other dogs can open them if your dog can't. So, okay, my dog will never open it, but if his buddy can and they're out playing together, I don't do group hugs either, but they might get out because the other guy let them out. So yeah, it is really good to just, not be obnoxious about it, but go at a time when they say you can go. So if they say you can go anytime we're open, then go early in the morning, go at lunchtime, go at the end of the day, so that you can see the transitions. And then that'll give you peace of mind, or have you, like me and Sally, move on. Susan, have you ever boarded Molly? Maggie?
Well, Maggie's going to be boarded soon, and I'm looking at I did get a referral to a place that I was seriously considering, but you brought up something that does concern me. I'd looked at several places, and a lot of these places don't have anybody around the clock, at night. And that, to me, that is a big concern, because you can have a medical emergency and there's nobody there. I mean, I don't know that it's likely to happen, but that would be something that.
And they could still miss it even with round the clock care, because they have to be there that moment. But at least there's someone going down every 3 or 4 hours to just check. The issue is that you really don't want to go and disturb everybody, because having had 24 dogs in my life, going down and disturbing them to see if they're okay creates havoc. So it's a double-edged sword. If they don't come, I don't mind the dogs being left to go to sleep from 10 o'clock until 6 in the morning. That's fine. And if nobody's there, I mean, they're not going to come down anyway. So if something happens from 10 at night till 6 in the morning, it's going to happen. But being able to have somebody there for last outs was really key for me.
Yeah, I just like to know that somebody's there keeping a watch on things. Yeah. That to me would be important. And what you talked about with the gates, I don't know if Maggie could climb over a gate or not at this point, but she's now 16 pounds and she doesn't have the stamina that she once had when I first got her. Yeah. She's eaten herself into oblivion just about, but she still races around the house. So I mean, but feeling confident that your dog's not gonna, be overly stressed by the experience is.
And if they are, that these people know what they're doing. In most kennels, they do. Any words of wisdom, Marty, about picking a kennel or about things to look for? I know that the smell is always important. The gates being locked is always important. I think for me, the ability to see is really important for dogs, and probably cats as well, because being put in a box with no visual outside can make them really upset. And then, having someone on site 24/7 is very important to me. But I know that very few kennels have someone on, and I know many of the veterinary practices don't have somebody on around the clock. And, it's a trade-off, right? You're in a veterinarian's practice, so if something goes wrong, they're in the right place, right? But they're not there overnight. So sorry, Marty, you were going to say something.
No, that's fine. There was a boarding kennel in Madison that used to board, and they had vet students that would stay overnight, and that was fantastic because they were in Madison near the vet school, and the students got paid to sleep and check on them. And so they would pay extra if their dog wanted to go hang out with the vet student while they were upstairs in the apartment studying, things like that. That's great. But I usually recommend that people take their dog for a short stay before they put them there for a long stay, so that they can see how the dog responds, how they come home, what kind of condition they're in. Do they smell bad? Are they soiled? Are they upset? Are they calm? Are they happy? So give them a daycare or a one-night stay before you commit to something long-term. And certainly if your dog is known to have anxiety, and a lot of things can set off a dog's anxiety, make sure that you get their medications adjusted so that their anti-anxiety medications are appropriate for that stay.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you for saying that. And I know that Maggie is on some anti-anxiety medication. I don't know if she's still on it, but always being able to know. And that is such a great suggestion. Absolutely worth the $30, $40, $50, whatever it is in your neck of the woods for an overnight stay or for a day care stay, because it provides two things. One is that you, as Marty rightly said, you get the opportunity to see how your dog relates and is success, or your cat is successful as a boarding client, but also it gives your pet the idea that you're coming back, because you just left and you're coming back. And it's a short period of time. It's not this long period of time. I know that people say that dogs and cats, because when you leave to go to the mail out of the mailbox, they treat you as if you've been gone for a month. They don't have a really good judge of time. However, I really think that if you give them the opportunity to go for a little bit of a stay, say a daycare once, and then maybe an overnight once, before you expect them to stay like I'm expecting them to stay for 10 days, would be great. And except for the fact that Junie is a show dog and has been in a kennel, I probably would have brought him into Wake Forest. Mariah's another can of worms, but I can't offer that to her because she's living with her co-owner right now. So she won't be able to go to a kennel, although I might suggest that Susie send her to a kennel overnight one night, simply to have her understand that she lived and that somebody came back for her, which would be helpful. It's always good to give your cats and dogs a variety of experiences, especially if you're going to need them to go somewhere to be boarded. If you don't have someone you can invite in to take care of your pets, or someone across the hall. I mean, my son takes his cat to his buddy's house now, and the cat stays with his buddy's cat, and the two of them have a gay old time. So it's always good to make sure you spend a little time doing that. And preparing your dog or your cat for boarding, they take ferrets now, they take turtles, they take snakes, they take everything in boarding, which is great because people do have exotic animals, but just make sure, as Marty said, take a visit, maybe let your animal have a night. It's worth the amount of money, whatever it is, so that you can see, as Marty said, if they come home smelly. And I can tell you that most pets will come home smelly from a kennel, because even if you buy the kennel exit bath, they put them back in their run, and it just doesn't stay as clean as you'd like. It's not that your dog or your cat are going to the bathroom in the kennel and not going in their litter box or not going out the in and out door to go to the bathroom. It's just their paws are stepping in it, and it's a small enclosed space, so they might get to smell dirty. So let me ask everybody, does anyone have any questions about this before I call it a night? Because it's already 7:08. We fly through these 30 minutes. I swear we do. Sally, Susan, Stephanie, anybody have any remaining questions? Marty?
Yeah, I have one more comment, and that's if you can get in-home care for your pet while you're gone, that's probably the most ideal situation. You can certainly get a camera, a security camera, or some baby camera to put on it while you're out of the house. There's Furbo, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And people have reported they've even seen burglars come into their house and things on the camera. So the camera can be helpful, but if you can find somebody to care for your pet in their home, you can use care.com. You can call your vet clinic and see if they have any experienced veterinary staff that would do daycare either at their house or in the pet's own home. That's where I think your pet is most comfortable.
Absolutely. And I was going to do that if, in fact, my paddock fence was built, which means my garage had to be built before I left for the wedding and for the conference I'm going to, ACVIM. If my garage is built, I might be able to put the fence around it, and then the dogs would have been contained. It's just too much for me with the open part of the water to have the dogs come without being trained to the invisible fence before I had to leave. Because believe me, this has been the toughest thing for me because I have never had my dogs in a boarding kennel. And I now know the pain of people who don't have what I had, which was a caregiver who came in and took care of my dogs in their lockdown home, that they were secure and every day never changed for them because they were happy and carefree. And it's made me very sensitive now to what people who don't have that. Some people don't like people in their homes, and I get it. So they want to drop the dog off at boarding or the cat off at boarding. Just make sure you take that little extra piece of time to get the cat or dog used to it before you bring them there for an extended period of time. It's not that anything terrible is going to happen, but you're just, this is what we do at the MAAP planning program call. We talk about what we can do to make sure our pets have a soft landing wherever they go. So if they're going to a kennel, because you have to put them in a kennel, because like me, you have nobody here, or you don't have a safe environment in which to keep them at your home, then do your due diligence. Anybody have any remaining questions? Sally, Stephanie, Susan, Marty? Great. Well, I'm so glad you're here, Stephanie. I hope you come back. Remember, make a plan, appoint caregivers, address the needs of both your wonderful kitty cats, love them, and make sure whoever you appoint as your caregiver, your family, your attorney, and your veterinarian gets a copy of whatever you put together. And before you go to bed tonight, make sure you put that card on your refrigerator or wherever so that your cats won't be removed from your house. If God forbid something happens to you, that the people who are from Animal Care and Control will know who to call so that the cats stay put until the people you appoint remove them from their home.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. We hope you come back and join us. We're here every Wednesday night at 6:30 to 7, although I always run over and I apologize. Sally, Stephanie, Susan, Marty, thank you for coming. And until next time, kiss your wonderful pets for me. This is Deborah Hamilton, the MAAP Community Call. Why Do Pets Matter podcast. Don't miss it. It's fabulous. And then, of course, Hamilton ADR, North Carolina. If you have a conflict of any kind involving your animal, please reach out to us. We're happy to help you do it without litigation. But until next time, kiss your pets.